Good morning and welcome to NewsWare's Trade Talk for Wednesday, May 20th. Okay, let's get into the action. Take a look at the S&Ps, which are trading higher by 0.32% this morning. Nice morning. Optimistic comments from VP Vance yesterday on the state of the U.S.-Iranian peace talks. That's helping. NVIDIA's earnings after the bell. That's causing some optimism as well. Oil prices slightly weaker. A couple tankers passed through the Strait of Hormuz without incident earlier today. That's a positive. But on the economic front, we got the Federal Reserve's meeting minutes this afternoon. These things are expected to be rather hawkish. Remember, we had a big dissension in last month's meeting, so expect a hawkish tilt on those meeting minutes. Let's talk about some corporate news coming out today. SpaceX, their IPO expected to be released today. China finally announced their intention to buy those 200 airplanes from Boeing. And they're also going to be resuming some imports of certain U.S. beef products. Calendar, is active today with shareholders meetings. Amazon's having one. Citigroup, Thermo Fisher, Bunge, Northrop Grumman, GE Nervo, GEV is also having shareholders meetings today. On the earnings front, we're seeing some gains in Keys, Kava, Toll Brothers, and Target. They're all trading higher after their earnings releases, whereas in Hasbro and Lowe's, LOW, they're moving lower after their earnings announcements. After the bell today, hey, NVIDIA is a big one, but also you got Intuit and you got Urban Outfitters also reporting. And tomorrow morning, we got Walmart, we got Deere & Company, and NetEase. They're all set to report. Okay, let's take a look and check in at the global markets and see what we're seeing over in Europe. And Europe is trading higher. I mean, we got to give it to Europe. They're mainly higher. You look at the DAX; it's up 0.58%. Some positive gains in tech and energy. You got London. London's up 0.2% or 0.21%. Their CPI data came in a lot cooler than expected, which was very, very surprising. The CAC in Paris is up 0.68%. Strength in the tech sector is really helping that index show some green this morning. Then we look at Asia. In Asia, it was mainly red. I mean, we look at the Nikkei. It was down 1.23% overnight. The real fear is that, the Bank of Japan is going to start doing a rate hike, and, this is causing some weakness on equities. But this is the fifth day in a row that Japan's been lower, so that turnaround could happen tonight. Hong Kong down 0.57% overnight, weighed down by weakness in chip and AI-related stocks. China down 0.18%. Weakness in, financials. Remember, the Bank of Japan left interest rates unchanged for, another session. Caused a little selling pressure in financials. Nothing very significant. But then we're looking at oil this morning, and oil is trading lower. I mean, we got WTI at $102.39. We got Brent at $109.06. The talks, U.S.-Iranian talks apparently are occurring. Two sides are far apart, but that doesn't mean an agreement can't be reached. A few cargo vessels went through the Strait of Hormuz today without incident. That's a positive. The API data last night showed a draw of 9.1 million barrels. Got the EIA data coming out later this morning. Just some things to keep an eye on. Now we're talking about earnings announcements, and we got to start off with Kava, ticker CAVA. Stocks up 7.57% this morning. They beat by 3 cents on higher revenue. Then you look at Target TGT, which is up about 1%. They beat by 25 cents on higher revenue. That's all positive. And then upcoming after the bell, listen, NVIDIA is the big one. NVDA, the EPS is $1.77. Expected move is 6.12%. Walmart is coming out tomorrow morning. EPS is 65 cents. Expected move is 4.81% when they release. In terms of economic reports hitting the tape today, we get the Atlanta Fed business inflation expectations at 10 a.m., 10:30 a.m. We get the EIA oil stockpiles report. Then at 2 p.m. we get the Fed meeting minutes. Fed Governor Michael Barr is scheduled to be speaking this morning at 9:15 a.m. Okay, now we're talking about some of the FANG stocks. See if we're seeing any news out there. Like Google, they announced their strategic partnership with European Thales for Google Cloud. Meta begins their round of layoffs today. Netflix expanding its markets into, candy and toys. Makes sense. It makes a lot of sense, actually. Goldman Sachs expected to be the lead underwriter for the SpaceX IPO. Boeing, China made that actual commitment to buy the 200 Boeing jets. That's the first purchase in years. So now remember, this order was thrown out there. Oh, it's going to be up to 750 planes. 200 planes is a good start. Take it. Let's be happy with that. Okay, let's move into guidance. ADI, Apple, David, India, they released earnings this morning. And the stock is trading higher. It's up, about 0.9%. But they see Q3 adjusted EPS coming in $3.30 plus or take 15 cents. Street estimates at $3. So yeah, that's positive. Then you got Lowe's, ticker LOW, stocks down 2.09% this morning. They backed their full year EPS estimates of $12.25 to $12.75. Street estimates at $12.59. It's okay. Keysight Technology, ticker KEYS. Listen, they see 3Q adjusted EPS coming in $2.43 to $2.49. Street estimates $2.16. That's an uptick, but the stock is getting hit. It's down 2.65% this morning. Shareholders meetings, Amazon, they're having a shareholders meeting. That's why it's so quiet, but I expect an announcement coming from them today. Citigroup, same thing. Thermo Fisher, TMO, Bungie, BG, Northrop Grumman, NOC, and let's not forget ticker GEV, which is GE Veranova. They're also having a shareholders meeting today. The reason why you follow them is a lot of times they can say something very, very important in these shareholders meetings that can cause the stock price to really spike. So it's more or less it makes those tickers to be worthwhile on a watch list. Okay, let's move into the pick of the day. I'm looking at everything coming out, and the only one that kind of fits the model is NVIDIA. I don't love it, but earnings are due out after the bell. EPS is $1.77. Expected move is 6.12%. Call volume is 1.1 million yesterday versus 545K. That's positive. Open interest is 8,400,000 versus 6,600,000. That's positive. Major brokers are raising price targets. They do love the stock, but I just think that you're seeing a lot of euphoria right now, and you could see some weakness, and the market's going to, pull back. I mean, we were at 175 not too long ago, and now we're up 50 points. Now we're at the 220 mark. So, I'll look to get in to 1950, to 1980, something like that. Maybe it'll hit. But that's my pick of the day, NVIDIA and NVDA earnings play. As soon as I make my 1%, I'm out. What else do we have going on here today? Well, let's take a look at this hot news that's hitting the tape this morning. TJX increases the range of its 2027 share repurchasing to 2.75 to 3 billion. It was 2.5 to 2.75 billion, so they increased it. 250 million shares. Coty, COTY, announced the launch of Marc Jacobs Beauty. Bristol-Myers Squibb brings Claude to about 30,000 of its staff. They're going to be using it in R&D drug development. Hasbro has identified unauthorized access to its network has been contained. That came out, it was initially announced in late March, but they finally admitted they contained it, so it's been out there for a while. Pfizer announced that their pneumococcal conjunctiva vaccine candidate data. Okay. Philadelphia Fed Anna Paulson said late yesterday that inflation progress is needed before the Fed can consider rate cuts. CMI Cummings found liable for misappropriation of C3 AI trade secrets. QGen partners with NVIDIA to integrate AI into drug discovery platforms. General Motors said they're going to start assembling cars in Mexico for sale in the local market. And you don't want to bring them up here to meet taxes. Alibaba's going to unveil a new AI chip. Okay, that's all I'm seeing. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about our pick of the day from yesterday, which was Cava, C-A-V-A. I mean, it had a great run. I mean, the stock opened up at $79.46, and then it fell down to $75.20, and, not long, but it did fall down there. It closed at $79.89, which is positive, but then, after the earnings, the stock hit a high of $84.79. This morning, it's actually traded $84.60, but, it's trading in that 84 to 84.17 range this morning. So, that's like a 7-8% move. So, yeah, you gotta, Cava was a winner. We gotta be happy with that. All right, traders, that concludes today's podcast from NewsWare. You guys know what to do. Let's go out there and let's make some green.